episode in the Bible series. We finished out in the book of Proverbs last time, and I figured that we could continue on with the writings of Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes. And we've got this little introduction here that I'll read through just to kind of prepare us for what to expect, and we'll go ahead and get started. So the theme, the life of the preacher, seen in chapter 1, verse 1, is a case study in wisdom gone awry. If the wisdom tradition begins with the understanding that God works through creation, as well as history, and seeks to read the message that God has given to mankind in creation, then the preacher records what one finds in creation without the faith in the Creator, meaninglessness. The bulk of the book is then anti-wisdom, for the preacher's quest for meaning does not begin with the fear of the Lord. In this sense, the preacher describes the human experience in our materialistic age more directly than any other book of the Bible. Whether the conclusion of the book represents the confession of a preacher who has come to fear the Lord at the end of a misspent life, or whether it is a second voice commenting upon the preacher's experience makes little difference in the end. In either case, the closing note is the theme that is the foundation for all that the Old Testament calls wisdom. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. We saw that back in Proverbs 9:10. The only source of meaning in a universe that is otherwise meaningless. Contributions from archaeology. As with wisdom literature in general, there is little that archaeology can do to elucidate the central message of the book. What archaeology has done is to uncover texts that serve as points of comparison between Israel's wisdom tradition and those of Israel's neighbors. Such a comparison helps to locate themes common to both and identify and appreciate the significance of those points at which the wisdom tradition of the Old Testament differs from those of the surrounding nations. Here's our outline. An introduction and theme in chapter 1, continuing with the first catalog of vanities in 1 through 2. The poem, A Time for Everything, Fearing God. A second catalog of vanities, Fearing God, Life Under the Sun, The Heart of the Problem, Sin, More on Life Under the Sun, and the final conclusion, an epilogue. One thing about the book of Ecclesiastes is that it was written by Solomon after he had made a variety of mistakes, and those are detailed in previous books of the Old Testament, I believe 1st and 2nd Chronicles. And so some of this can sound heavy and weighty, but really it's kind of a warning of admonition and a statement of, what things will be like if you don't live your life the right way. So, let's get into it, and we'll see where it takes us. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. All is vanity. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king of Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? A generation goes, a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun goes down and hastens to the place where it rises. The wind blows to the south and goes around to the north. Around and around goes the wind, and on its circuits the wind returns. All streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. To the place where the streams flow, there they flow again. All things are full of weariness. A man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it is said, see, this is new? It has already been in the ages before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of later things yet to be among those who come after. I, the preacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem, and I applied my heart to seek and search out wisdom, all that is done under the heavens. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. I have seen everything that is done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after wind. What is crooked cannot cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me. And my heart is a great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I applied my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this is also but a striving after wind. For in much wisdom there is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Definitely not the most light-hearted topic, but again, kind of necessary to review what could be wrong, what could go wrong if things are not handled the right way. So we'll continue on in chapter 2 here momentarily, but I'll read this here. Our little text box. Wisdom literature in the ancient Near East. Biblical wisdom literature is part of a larger corpus of wisdom literature from across the ancient Near East. The Bible is certainly aware of this international tradition, referring to the wise men of Egypt in Genesis and Exodus, and Mesopotamia in Esther and Daniel. All wisdom literature shares the common characteristic of reflecting upon the human experience in order to derive principles or guidelines for conduct. Implicit in this is the understanding that there is a divinely established order in the world, and that the wise or insightful person learns to live in harmony with that order. In general, wisdom literature from the ancient Near East falls into one of two broad categories. One type is reflective or speculative, recording the reflections of the sage on the meaning of life or some aspect of it. The second type is proverbial, often described as practical, generally consisting of collections of wisdom sayings that attempt to encapsulate some specific insight drawn from observing the way the world or human society works. In addition, the words wisdom and wise are sometimes used as a description of those who have a specific technical skill. Yet, within this broad framework is much diversity. For descriptions of the regional wisdom tradition, see Wisdom of Literature in Egypt on page 932, which we may turn to, and Wisdom Literature in Mesopotamia on 934. For the key emphases that distinguish biblical wisdom literature from that of the rest of the ancient Near East, there's a wisdom literature in wisdom literature in Israel on 936. So maybe at the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, we'll turn there and do a little compare-contrast versus how this was documented over different traditions. Chapter 2, the vanity of self-indulgence. I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure, enjoy yourself. But behold, this also was vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of pleasure, what use is this? I searched with my heart how to cheer my body with wine, my heart still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly, till I might see what is good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks, and planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves, and had slaves who were born in my house. I had also great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had ever been before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold and the treasure of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and many concubines, and the delights of the sons of man. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me, and whatever my eyes desired I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was the reward for all my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had expended in doing it, and behold, all was vanity and striving after wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. So he explored the fullness of pleasures in life, and still found himself unfulfilled. The vanity of living wisely. So I turned to consider wisdom and madness and folly, for what can the man do who comes after the king? Only what has been done. Then I saw that there is more to gain in wisdom than in folly, and there is more to gain in light than in darkness. The wise person has his eyes in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. And yet I perceived that the same event happens to all of them. Then I said in my heart, what happens to the fool will happen to me also. Why then have I been so very wise? And I said in my heart, this is also vanity. For of the wise as of the fool there is no enduring remembrance, seeing that in the days to come all will be long forgotten. How the wise dies just like the fool. So I hated life, because what is done under the sun was grievous to me, for all is vanity and striving after the wind. Hang with me, folks, I promise, there's a point. I hated all my toil, in which I toil under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool, yet he will be master of all for which I toiled, and used my wisdom under the sun. This is also vanity. So I turned about and gave my heart up to despair over all the toil of my labors under the sun, because sometimes a person who has toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave everything to be enjoyed by someone who did not toil for it. This also is vanity and a great evil. What has a man from all the toil and striving of heart with which he toils beneath the sun? For all his days are full of sorrow, and his work as a vexation. Even in the night his heart does not rest. This is also vanity. There is nothing better for a person than he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. This also I saw from the hand of God, for apart from him who can eat or have enjoyment. For to the one who pleases him God has given wisdom and knowledge and joy, but to the sinner he has given the business of gathering and collecting, only to give to the one who pleases God. This is also vanity and striving after the wind. We'll read chapter 3 as well. A time for everything. For everything there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What gain has the worker from his toil? I have seen the business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. I perceived that there is nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. Also that everyone should eat and drink and take pleasure in all his toil. This is God's gift to man. So after that depressing opening there, it finally kind of starts to get to the point of what he's realized after the hardship. I perceived that there is nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. Also that everyone should eat and drink and take pleasure in all his toil. This is God's gift to man. I perceive that whatever God does endures forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken from it. God has done it, so that people fear before him. That which is already has been, that which is to be already has been, and God seeks what has been driven away. Moreover, I saw under the sun that in the place of justice even there was wickedness, and in the place of righteousness even there was wickedness. I said in my heart, God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time for every matter and every work. I said in my heart with regard to the children of man that God is testing them, that they may see that they themselves are but beasts. For what happens to the children of man and what happens to the beasts is same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath, and man has no advantage over the beasts. For all is vanity, all go to one place, all are from dust, and to dust all return. Who knows whether the spirit of man goes upward and the spirit of the beast goes down into the earth? So I saw that there is nothing better than that a man should do but rejoice in his work, for that is his lot. Who can bring him to see what God? Who can bring him to see what will be after him? That which is already has been, that which is to be already has been, and God seeks what has been driven away. So no matter where you are, no matter the mistakes you've made, no matter the mistakes you may be making right now, it says that God seeks what has been driven away. So if you feel that way about the things that you're pursuing and they just feel kind of hollow and empty, wisdom and God's heart cries out for you. I appreciate everybody taking the time to watch. I know there's a lot of good content creators out there, and you all spend time here with me, and I don't take it for granted. If you have something you'd like to see more of, please comment and let me know. If you have something that you'd like to provide as constructive criticism, I'm always here for that too. I'm not perfect, and I'm always looking to improve. I hope that this is something that brings you all relaxation and a sense of peace. Maybe a little bit of knowledge and contemplation as we go along too, as you look to relax and get some rest. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, I'd love it if you would. If you like this video, please like it so I can make more like it. I'll see you soon.